Da, da, theme song, theme song. Da, da, da.
Hi, I'm Tanya,
I'm Nikki.
and we're A Thousand Eyes and One, the podcast. We're back for House of the Dragon, Season 2, Episode 3, The Burning Mill.
Woo.
To find previous episodes, go to thousandeyespodcast.com. You can also find us on YouTube, A Thousand Eyes and One Podcast. And if you'd like to follow us on social media, we're on Twitter as Thousand Eyes One, Facebook and Instagram, A Thousand Eyes and One. If you're interested in our speculative fiction book club, that is Wine on an Empty Stomach on Instagram. So we open with the Battle of the Burning Mill, the first actual battle to take place in the Dance of the Dragons that neither Rhaenyra or Aegon were involved in.
Nope. No dragons were harmed in the making of that battle.
No, nor did either usurper or queen command this. It's just the Brackens and Blackwoods being Brackens and Blackwoods.
We've talked about them before in one of our very first episodes, about this feud that had been going on. But yeah,
they don't even remember. They've just always feuded. So of course the war starts with them choosing different sides, because if one chooses a side, the other is always going to go with the opposite side.
Right. Babe killer.
But the Blackwoods are right. Queen
Blackwoods
Rhaenyra.
are right. Yeah, they swore an oath and they're respecting it.
This is one of those moments where we're reminded just how horrible the war is for small folk.
Yeah. Just the amount of carnage that you see along the banks of that river. It's just, oh my God. It's terrible. And you know what? Honestly, one of the thoughts I had when they were like zooming out to show all these like bodies was that how many people on that battlefield weren't dead but died like later, you know, like of their wounds. Like, that sounds like a terrible way to go.
And
Truly.
Neither Rhaenyra or Aegon mourned for them.
For what? They didn't sanction this war. They're like, oh, well, and I mean, Aegon, or who was it? Somebody on the small council said, you know what? They just needed an excuse.
Yeah.
That's all they needed. Like, you know, fire or wood and tinder.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if they got excited about the possibility of killing each other when they heard that this was a thing, you know?
Maybe.
Because it seems like they didn't know who they declared for until that conversation.
Yeah, it did seem that way, because he's like, oh, so your uncle declared for the usurper or whatever it was he said.
Traitors.
And it's not
traitors to the crown must die.
And it's not like, you know, they were acting off of just like two teenagers fighting over border stones.
Yeah.
And it just escalated into a full-on battle where a lord has been killed. And it's just horrific. And then, you know, I don't know, it's just thinking about back in both councils, the way they talk about it. It's like it's just numbers.
Yeah.
It's just numbers.
Yeah, no, but you're right. They are just numbers. They're cannon fodder.
Yeah.
You know, but also what a shame, because you lost all those men and they will not come to your cause now because they're fucking dead.
And nothing was gained.
No.
Nothing was gained. No. They just killed each other. Like both sides took losses.
Terrible.
Like just nothing was gained from this. It's just pure loss.
It's just, and it's a preview of what's to come. You know, like if the carnage was that, like the extent of the carnage was like that, then imagine what would happen if a dragon was involved.
Right.
Like, we know about the field of fire. Like, y'all aren't going anywhere.
Right. We go from there to Eric and Eric's funeral. They're buried together. I'm assuming because no one could tell them apart.
They should have just like lifted up the shirt and been like, oh, stomach wound, got it. But I feel like they deserve to be buried together, treachery
Yeah.
or no treachery. There's just something so sweet and poetic about it. You know, they're from womb to tomb, birth to earth.
Jay seemed pretty upset about it, and I wonder what that means for him later.
Hmm.
It seems like
Yeah.
they cut to him a lot um when
Mm-hmm.
Rhaenyra's like wanting to hold off, and it seems like he's getting frustrated with her.
Yeah. It does look like that. I mean, because after all, he is heir to the throne, and he's got the same itch in his pants to go to war that Aegon does.
Mm-hmm.
You know, throw caution to the wind and let's fight. Um, but I'm glad that Rhaenyra is maintaining her chill and taking the counsel of Rhaenys, because Rhaenys is just like, yo, chill.
Rhaenys said soon they won't remember how it began,
Mm-hmm.
and I liked how she listed all of these things that happened that
Mm-hmm.
could have been the start of this.
Yeah, totally. Totally. It's just like the Brackens and the Blackwoods don't remember what happened and what started it. Like this is your future too. And to go back to the part just like as far as like, well, you know, when Jace took his Aemon's eye,
Right.
you know, it could go back like that far, or just when Aegon was born and she got, you know, the hints of being passed over. Where does it begin?
Or
Or
when
what?
her father married her best friend slash handmaiden.
Yeah.
A rivalry could have, you know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
basically it's all Viserys's fault. Oh, anyway. Um I was also glad that Rhaenys called her out a little bit when about her anger at Alicent when it's not Alicent who's starting the
Right.
war.
Right. No, I love that too. It's just like, listen, nobody's really blameless in here. And it doesn't matter whether you did or you did not do something. It's about perception.
Exactly.
And they believe
And
that
Rhaenys
you
is very
sliced the neck
smart.
of a baby or decapitated a baby.
Right. And Rhaenys is very smart. You know, one of the first things she says is that Otto wouldn't have done this.
Yeah. 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 What did they say? Hotter blood has prevailed or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And I'm glad that they recognize that. Um, because it's fucking true. And it makes you just like, it shows you how quickly things can go off the rails in a time of war.
Yeah,
It really
every this
does.
and remember that not much time has passed.
Mm-mm.
It's barely been 2 weeks. And in that time, she's lost her father and two of her children. Her, what is that would make a
Her
what?
throne.
Her throne, her nephew beheaded by her
Mm-hmm.
husband, her because of her husband, not by him.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, a lot has happened,
A lot has
and
happened.
it's escalating so fast. And as much as
It's
she,
wild. I just want to say real quick, it's wild for you to like list those things and be like, oh, this happened in the span of 2 weeks. Cause like I think about what my last 2 weeks have been like, and they've been stupid busy, but like they mostly haven't involved loss, you know, like
yeah,
to that magnitude. Like, how do you not go insane and
right.
like keep your cool for the good of a realm that only, you know, 50% wants you?
Oh,
And
and I didn't add in an attempt on her life. I didn't add that in
yeah,
the list of things. The list of things.
assassins. Like, bruh, that's a lot. That's a lot to weather. It's like, it's wild. It shows a lot of restraint and honor that she is not just going and lighting up King's Landing because she could, but no
Yeah.
one wants to be the queen of the ashes, right?
On one hand, I'm happy for her restraint, and we can talk about this later when we get into the small council. But on the other hand, I think she kind of needs to wake up to the fact that the war has started.
Yeah.
She keeps saying she doesn't want to start a war, but like
Shots
the war has
fired.
started. Shots have been fired.
Yeah. You
Um,
know what? And I feel like I enjoy Rhaenys's counsel because it's not only that she's older and wiser, but she's been through a few kings. You know,
mhm.
she's sat through a couple of kings. She's had a lot of experience in the court, whether or not she was passed over. Um, and her husband is the sea snake.
Mm-hmm.
Like she knows, she's seen it, because it's not like he's been like, oh, go do your needlework. He's like, no, what do you think, hun? What are
Fun.
your thoughts on this?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Whew.
Let's talk about our good friend that we love so much, Kristen Cole.
FCC.
We um we have new Kingsguard that
Hmm.
surprised him.
All disrespect intended. I love to see them sitting down. Like I remember when I was in ROTC, like shit like that would never happen. Your
Them just
commanding
sitting and
officer is coming,
relaxed.
you stand up and you go to attention. But they look to him and they're like, "We know that you fucked up."
Not even though they're just like Aegon's friends.
Yeah,
So it's not even a we know you fucked up. It's like the king's my homie, like we're chilling.
but
They're not
also the
taking
king's
this
my
seriously.
homie, and you fucking failed. Like you did. Where were you? We still don't know where you were, and you just set one of our people off to death. Like they weren't there. They weren't peoples at that point, but are one of our sworn brothers off to death because of your shitty plans?
I
It's
don't know
giving
if I
tyranny.
even believe that those guys were thinking that deeply, honestly.
Hmm.
I feel like they're just like cool, new job. Like wow, we're Kingsguard now, ha ha. And we see
Yeah.
it later when they're ready to go to the whorehouse, and he's like, "You've taken a vow of chastity," and they're like, "Yeah, sure." You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
right.
now
Yeah.
Aegon, without the help of the Lord Commander, has chosen new knights for his Kingsguard,
Hmm.
which is not how things usually go. And Kristen's obviously
No,
annoyed by it, and he can't say anything, of course.
can't say shit. I have a question. Like, do you think that Laris was at all involved in like helping him appoint these people? Or do you think, because now I'm wondering, like, sure, they're Egon's friends. Like, they were they in the throne room talking about Dragoncock and such? I don't remember. I'd have to go back to that
Yeah,
scene and check.
I think that's who that was.
Yeah.
That's just like his closest friends. So they're not necessarily even good knights. They're just and I
I feel
don't
like they
think
would drop swords and run should any actual danger
absolutely,
present
especially if
itself.
a dragon shows up. And I don't think that Laris had a hand in choosing New Kingsguard, but I do think that Laris being in Aegon's ear about who and what he controls contributed to
Hmm.
Aegon deciding to just choose his own Kingsguard instead of
Fuck
leaving it up to
tradition.
Kristen Cole.
Yeah.
Kristen Cole's also late for his first meeting as the Hand, which
And
to
he
me was
wasn't
a,
getting blown this time.
yeah, to me it was a huge sign of disrespect. And
Hmm.
I liked how everyone was kind of coming at him about his stupid plan to send Eric to kill Rhaenyra. Like everyone was just like, "Why would you do that? Like that was
Hmm.
rash. It didn't make sense. It was a
And
stupid
nobody
plan,
asked you.
and nobody asked you to do that."
Nobody asked you. But can we talk about his Hand of the King
The chain,
necklace?
yeah, I liked it. Remember, I was like, "What are they gonna
Yeah, we're like,
stick it on with a magnet?"
you know, I loved that. It also reminded me of
I think that's how it's described in the books.
ooh,
What the
nice.
hand wears. It wasn't a pin. I believe it was a chain.
Oh, yeah. I have to go back and refer to the notes. It reminded me as also of Tyrion's necklace that he strangled
Yes.
homegirl with.
Yes.
Yeah, that was cool.
So they're discussing what to do now that war has definitely begun. You send an assassin. And it's like so many things happen when they say, okay, this is the beginning of the war.
Right, right.
So the beginning of the war has happened like 5 times now.
Oh, indeed.
Um, Kristen and Allison here, there's a lot of tension between them.
Hmm.
And I think that Kristen Cole felt powerful because he was fucking the queen.
Yeah, I think so too. Emboldened, and
Yes.
the way that he like disregarded her,
Mm-hmm.
like, and I was just like, she was surprised, but he was like, well, duh, like
But
this is my job.
now that he's hand of the king, he doesn't need her to feel powerful. And I
No.
think that shows so much more of who he is deep down This just like
Mm-hmm.
pathetic, insecure, you know, trying to make up for shortcomings. He
Yeah.
probably feels insecure about the fact that he's not the son of a lord, he's the son of a steward. You know, he's risen up to this job, but he got rejected by the princess.
Up jumped
Now
pup.
he's fucking the queen, and so he's the man, but now he's the hand of the king, so he doesn't even need her anymore.
Something I wanted to say last time that I then saw a meme about was I remember when we were on mostly Max and things, and we were talking about Andy Bernard from The Office and
Mm-hmm.
how he keeps failing up, and that's
Mm-hmm.
what Kristen Cole is doing.
Yeah, he's
He
failing
keeps
up.
failing up, and you're just like, "Yo, are you serious?" Like, it's obvious for me watching that scene. It was obvious that you don't know anything, and everybody else can see that, but you're trying to make up for it with bravado and show of force.
Mm-hmm.
And we see how that has worked out so far. Like maybe
Yeah, as far
she'll.
as for everyone else, it hasn't worked out, but for him, it's moved him up. You know, he's
Mm-hmm.
the second. He's gone from the son of a steward to the second most powerful person in the kingdom,
Yeah,
and
second stupidest.
not because he's done his job well,
Nope,
but because the king's an idiot.
because the king is an idiot who just he wants to go to war. He wants, and it's just like, has he ever seen somebody bleed out in front of, well, I guess,
Well, they haven't had a war since
blood.
like before Jaharis, so
He did murder blood, so
oh
I get,
right, yeah.
so there's that. But like to see actual slaughter, um, no, he doesn't know what it means. He doesn't have like a crazy disfiguring injury like Eamon does to, like, has he ever even had a scratch? you know, he's such a protected baby, and it's watching Allison talk to him, or just like watching her watch him, like, oh my god, this kid is still a baby. My son, and I can see like this,
My
um
son is an idiot.
my son is an idiot, but just like, oh, but he's still a little boy, she's given that kind
Yeah,
of
he's
look to
being
him.
childish, and it's like when they say that these boys want to play at war.
Mm-hmm.
And he, you know,
Exactly.
remember he even offers to go out himself on his dragon with Kristen Cole, and Eamon has to talk him down because
I'm
it,
fearsome
yeah, he
too.
said, I'm as fearsome as any of them. And everyone just kind of reached for their glass and just took a sip, like, oh, yeah, sure, king. Because nobody's scared of you except for the fact that you're the king and could order my execution.
Yeah, and once again, I just like, I wish Eamon was on the other side, because he's got such a cool and level head. And
Mm-hmm.
even when Kristen is like, yeah, no, you got to leave Vagar here because we need him to like patrol and protect King's Landing, even though, we've got assassins under the boards.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, all right, whatever. He stopped rolling his coin over his thing and over his fingers, which I want to learn how to do. That might be my new summer goal. And he was just like, okay, fine, 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 fine. Because no matter how ridiculous it is, you can see that he's still like kind of respecting the hierarchy.
Yeah, he's definitely
He's
not
got some
respecting the
weird no.
king himself. He's definitely just respecting the hierarchy because in some ways he's very like noble.
That's what I was gonna say. He's got this sense of like honor, which is just aimed in the wrong direction.
I would love, yeah, I need him and Damon on the same team. It's a
Yeah.
shame.
It's
It's
a
a
shame.
shame.
It's a
It's
shame.
a
And also, hey,
shame.
I also wonder if him telling Egon that he needed to stay behind was like, if Egon took it as like him needling him, because that's his brother, and he knows that his brother is like better at him than like everything except for
I
sex, I
don't think
guess.
so. I think he probably took it as, you know, Eamon is smart and knows what he's talking about. So he's
Hmm.
probably right. And honestly, he was probably a little bit afraid and just showing some bravado so that they don't think he's afraid. I don't think he really wanted to go. Even later when we see him in his armor and how quickly he's talked out of it, like he didn't really want to go.
Hmm. It's like Joffrey. Did she say what she wanted, my mother? Did my
Right,
mother tell you what she wanted?
exactly. Let's talk about Sea Snoke and my head canon about Lenor. I can't remember if I talked to you about this or if I talked about it on Costume Code. Did I tell you my theory that Lenor is dead? No, that
Oh,
wasn't
no,
us.
you didn't. No.
Okay, so here's my head canon
Tanya's
about
cheating on
Lenor.
me with other
I'm
podcasts.
sorry. Forgive me.
Shout out to Costume Co. We love you. I really do. I can't wait to like hang out with y'all one of these days.
Yeah, we'll do that soon.
Shout out
So
to
we see
Heidi.
Masaria watching Sea Smoke, and she asks, before we talk about her new job, she asks Rhaenyra if they always act like this, and Rhaenyra says he's been restless of late.
Mm-hmm.
My head canon. So in Fire and Blood, Laenor is killed by his lover Carl.
Yeah.
In the show, what we see is they have Carl fake kill him so that they can escape together. He's killed by his lover Carl across the Narrow Sea. I forgot what
Yeah.
city.
Mm-hmm.
So what I think happened is, even though Carl fake killed him and they escape, and that's the story we've gotten, I think that Carl eventually did kill him across the Narrow Sea.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why
Mm-hmm.
Sea Smoke has been so restless, because it can
Morning.
sense that Laenor is dead. I just feel like that's their way of telling us without telling us.
Mm-hmm. Little Easter egg for the book readers.
Yeah.
I'm into
Maybe
that.
Carl,
And
maybe I think Carl really did end up killing him.
mm-hmm. Should have killed him first. Yeah, I like that as I like that as a possibility, and I like that it's setting us up to say, this dragon is now ready to be claimed.
Yeah.
But by whom?
Who will it
Whom?
claim it? Who
Mm,
can I
mm, mm,
run to? um,
mhm.
so Masaria's gotten herself a new job as well. Everybody's got new jobs.
Mhm. There's no
What do
more
you think about
recession.
that? What do you think about that? This
I
mistress of
think that she was,
whispers.
yeah, I think that Rhaenyra is smart to keep her close in that way, even though she knows. But it seems that Massaria, in her own way, has a little bit of honor. She's like, you pay me, I'll be on your side.
But
All right,
also
cool.
you
You
treated me
spared my
better.
life.
Yeah, you spared my life and
Yeah.
treated me better. So maybe you are going to be the better ruler.
Yeah,
And I
you
think
treated me
she's
with
a
honor, and I respect that.
and I think she'll be a better master of whispers than, or I guess mistress of whispers than Laris, because Laris has his own agenda.
Well, Laris is still, he has his own agenda, but he's still nobility.
Yeah.
He's a lord, and people don't, now we're going to war for you. When Massaria, she's of the people.
Mm-hmm.
She's
And
like the Westerosi dream, right? Like you start off as like from the very bottom, and now you own your own
started from the
situation.
bottom, now we're here. Yeah, she has the small folk in mind. It's not just her
Mm-hmm.
own ends. So I'm looking forward to see what she can do.
Me too. I read a little bit about her just in Fire and Blood afterwards because I was just like, I was her for Halloween one year actually
Oh, really?
before. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, it's very fun. Nobody knew who I was except me.
Of course.
Of
I'm looking
course.
forward to seeing how Damon takes it when he finds out that Massaria and his wife are now buddies.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's
Come
gotta be
home and
weird.
and your two women are just like
Yeah, like your wife and your
chilling.
ex are kicking it. Like, yeah,
I've
it's
told
gotta
you
be a
this
little
story, but
weird.
there was one time I came home with like years ago, and I walked in and it was like my current boyfriend and two of my ex-boyfriends just hanging on the couch playing like FIFA World Cup, and I was just like, whoa, what the fuck is this? Um, it was very awkward.
I
Very
bet.
awkward.
Well, that's gonna be Damon. He's gonna show up to the small council, and Massaria is gonna be sitting there. He's gonna be like,
Mm-hmm.
what is this? We'll see how
Mm-hmm.
that goes.
I wonder how the rest of the small council will like.
To have this woman who isn't anybody
Mm-mm.
added to the council. I don't think the men will like it.
Yeah, but fuck the men. They don't like anything. We'll talk about them
I
shortly.
can't call it if Rhaenys will approve or not. I don't know.
I feel like Rainey will see the advantages of having someone of the people, but also definitely, I mean, everybody should be a little bit skeptical of her. Like, why? How could you not be? How could
Yeah.
you not be? Like, this calls for a little bit of distrust.
Damon's whore? You bring her to the small council?
Mm-hmm. I feel like I just so I'm going to say that I spent all my F words for the season last week. So
Yeah, there were a lot of F words in that
I hope
last
you got drunk
episode.
listening to that.
Reina now has a new responsibility. And I think that, well, not I think, it's pretty obvious that she feels like she's useless because she doesn't have a dragon. And I feel bad for her for that.
No dragon, no betrothed.
Like, I just have to
Now
go
she's a
off with the
babysitter.
babies because they think
Yeah,
I'm a baby, but it is an important responsibility.
it is. You're protecting the heirs. I mean, honestly, I would be like, whew, thank God.
Right? They're sending
I don't want
assassins
to
to the
be.
castle. Get me the fuck out of
Yeah,
here.
yeah. I'll take care of those babies. I'll be their mom. Like, no problem. Where are we gonna go? Pentos? Bet.
Right.
I heard the weather's great there.
But, Rhaenyra is trusting her not just with her children, but with these eggs. Later
Mm,
on, when we see her leaving, she kind of
hmm.
realizes how serious her new role
Yeah,
is, that
yeah.
she's not just being tucked away like she's one of the kids.
Did you see a thing? Like, I was trying not to see anything, but I saw this thing where they're like, "Oh, are those the same eggs that happen in Game of Thrones? Are those Daenerys's
Okay,
eggs?"
so
And I was like,
the showrunners said yes, those are those eggs, but us Fire and Blood readers knows that the eggs came from the ones Alyssa Farman brought over to the across the narrow sea.
"Yeah,
But we don't need to get into that. That's
myth
that's
debunked."
that's the show canon. Show canon and book canon are two different things. I
Meh.
prefer the book canon, but this is cute.
Me too.
But
And
this
it's
is
too late
cute.
for them to go back and include that. It's just like they keep like Egon with the dagger,
Mm-hmm.
right? These little things that they keep putting in there to connect the two shows. And I can appreciate it because they're doing a better job.
It's cute. I'll take it. I'll take it as show
Hmm.
canon. So yeah, she sends 4 eggs though. So what happens to that fourth egg? We will see. Dun, dun, dun. Joffrey. So Joffrey's going to the Vale with who I don't remember.
Hmm.
And the two babies are going to Pentos with Reyna.
Oh, yeah, because the baby's going, Joffrey's going to be a ward.
Right, with the errands.
Yeah. And she promised them a dragon. So
Yes.
they shall have it. Yeah.
A little
It does.
baby
I mean,
one, but still a
yeah.
dragon.
Dragons still grow. There's lots of sheep in the Vale. Wink, wink. I
Damon makes his arrival in Harrenhal, which
was so
is
excited to see
disgusting
that.
and damp and wet and so damaged. It's the first time we've really seen Harrenhal like this. I think
Hmm.
before we had like that one room Tywin was in, and we had a lot of outside shots.
Yeah, yeah. But we don't get to see like it's true ruin.
Right, the
Like for
true
when he was
extent of
like,
like the devastation that
from
Aegon the
300
Conqueror,
years ago.
bruh. Well, in this case,
And
it's not
we
300 years ago,
yeah, but we
but
no one had the budget to fix that.
yeah,
There
it's
was
the
no
biggest
fundraisers
castle
for
in the
this
realm
roof.
without the money behind it.
Like, wow. And also just like, dude, like how to and for him to point fingers at Laris, right? Be like, hey, can you see that we have a hard time like keeping this place dry? What
Mm-hmm.
fire?
Yeah, so his that's what's the father? Daddy Strong. That's Daddy Strong's uncle.
Mhm.
So he's Laris's great uncle. It clearly does not like his ass. He's probably been trifling all his life.
Oh yeah, I bet. I bet. He had to be sneaky in like in order to find a place of importance in the household because no one was gonna look at him and be like, oh yeah, this is the heir.
Right.
Because, and
He's like Laris
cripple
Clubfoot.
yeah, all
Just
cripples are bastards in
disparagingly.
their father's eyes.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I love that there was no resistance. He saw Damon walk in and was like, hey, bruh, how do you like your steak?
Yeah, exactly. Have a seat.
Smart.
Clearly you got here on a dragon, so what the fuck?
What are we gonna do against you and a dragon and me with 6 guys and like 4 women? Like, what
Yeah.
are we gonna do? Come on in and have dinner. I'm sorry, we don't have any red currant.
We declared for you, obviously, and now you're here. So even if we hadn't, we declare for you.
And Damon is, I guess, rightfully suspicious because it was just too easy. So of course
Hmm.
he thinks they're gonna try to poison him. It's just a little
Yeah.
too easy. But remember, we were asking like who was even at Harrenhal to resist him
No
because
one.
Laris didn't go back. So I was like, who's it gonna be? Like a steward and like some
There
servants
weren't
to keep
even
the place
dogs to
clean.
like announce his presence.
Right. We only saw one guard.
Hmm.
We saw one guard. But Damon's there doing his job to gather the Riverlands. Let's stay in Harrenhal for a minute and talk about Damon.
Are we gonna stay in here? Like, are we gonna just conclude our hair and hall segment with this
Yes.
conversation? Okay.
Yes, I think so.
Damon and Harrenhal in that soggy ass bedroom. Like, where do you even sleep? I would like look at the bed and be like,
I know, there's just mushrooms growing in like every
oh my
corner.
God, absolutely. Like black mold and stuff. I'm like, do you guys have a dry chair? I'll just like put up my feet and do that. I'll just like sleep sitting up. I can't.
Oh, it's disgusting. Well, that's what Damon's dealing with, and he's not used to living like that. That's well, I mean, I guess maybe
Mm,
when he's out on campaign, but
yeah.
not inside a castle.
Yeah.
Um, Damon has this dream. So Harrenhal is haunted. Harrenhal is haunted.
I saw him walking around. I was like, ooh, ghosts of
Right,
Harrenhal.
the
Let's
door, the
go.
door shaking was giving horror movie. The way the door suddenly is like shaking all hard and then just stops. And
Mm-hmm.
Damon, still suspicious, has barred the door. It was interesting that
Yeah.
they didn't have actual bars for the door, that he had to use a sword.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of
Mm-hmm.
shows you exactly how like terrible in shape this castle really
Yeah.
is.
But it's like imagine if you borrowed like you bring a plank of wood and it's just gonna get rotted and you could just break through there.
Exactly.
You gotta have steel.
He dreams of young Rhaenyra cleaning up his mess. That was very spooky. Her sewing the child's head back on. What do you
Mm-hmm.
think What do you think that part of the dream meant for him? And why do we see
Um,
Rhaenyra as young Rhaenyra?
yeah, I mean, I think it's just I had a couple thoughts about it, and it's just like there's just so much violation that has happened. Like I can't see young Rhaenyra without thinking of the brothel,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And I can't see obviously we can't see the baby without being like, oh yeah, like a son for a son or whatever you may or may not have said. Like these are your doing. This is your doing, you know. These are two Targaryens that have been sullied for having known you, you know? Um, and I had another thought about it, but it escapes me right now. I mean, I love dreams and I love seeing it, and it's just like putting Damon face to face with his actions
Mm-hmm.
is something that we don't get to see often. Even when he gets the news about baby being killed, he's just like, we see him, he's smug or whatever, but he
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to see that child decapitated, bloody. So
Do you think
yeah, I
that
like forcing him to face it.
Rhaenyra was young in his dream because that's how he still sees her?
It's very possible. Yeah,
Or maybe because that's the Rhaenyra that didn't think he was pathetic?
that too. Or the Rhaenyra who he thought would be pliable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love that. I will also say that like it was a little scary, like when you're talking about the door being shaken open. But then I also had this, I was like, Harrenhal is drafty as fuck.
But we saw
For me, I'm
boots.
just like the one, and then I'm like, I want to see Harrenhal ghost.
But we did see the boots outside the door. It wasn't just the door shaking. You could see like feet underneath. Well, he has this spooky dream and he wakes up in front of the werewood, which is also spooky.
Mm-hmm.
So he's just been sleepwalking through the castle holding a
Yeah.
sword. Is
Mm-hmm.
magic at play here? Is Harrenhal
Finally.
really haunted? Because we also meet Alice Rivers, who we'll see more of. Alice
Mm-hmm.
Rivers and her visions, and she tells Damon, "You'll die in this place." And so it's back to visions and prophecies and what, is he
Mm-hmm.
literally gonna die there? Is it some does it mean something else?
Who knows? I mean, we know, but who knows?
I do hope we get to see
Oh,
more of her.
me too.
That they
I love a spooky woman, a spooky
Oh
witchy
yeah, I love a
lady,
spooky lady.
I just like I get tired of seeing them treated like Cassandras, but whatever.
I don't know if they named her in the
In the
show.
show?
Yeah. Did they call her?
I
I
don't
mean, we
think
know it's Alice Rivers, but did they call her that? I think maybe the
I
subtitles had her as Alice.
yeah, I don't recall them actually saying her name, but I'm sure that we'll get an introduction. And shout out to that face acting because I was scared.
No, she's very spooky. I don't know the actress's name, but she is very spooky. She just has like a spooky look to her. So
Hmm.
yeah, good casting. They chose well. Kristen Cole heads out. We meet Gwaine, who is played by a different actor than season one, but in season one we didn't really see him anyway. He had a helmet on and all that and just got knocked down.
Hmm.
So we see Gwaine is back and he's like, "Oh, look who the cat dragged in. Didn't you get a good
Hmm.
promotion with your humble ass, your humble ass
Hmm.
beginnings?"
Let me remind you where you came from.
Yeah, he's kind of a
It
dick.
doesn't matter that you're the hand of the king because I am the queen's brother and the king's uncle.
And
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 still.
basically I'm still better than you.
Hmm.
You know, he definitely gives that pompous vibe. It reminds me of I wish I had thought about this before so I could look up his name, but the lordling who joined the Night's Watch in the very, very beginning of the Game of Thrones. And he's in like the
Oh,
fine
yeah, yeah, yeah,
coat
yeah,
and
yeah.
boots and all of that. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
he's
know.
leading a ranger mission, even though he just got there. And that's what it reminded
Waymar
me of.
Royce.
Waymar Royce. That's who that reminded me of.
Yes.
It
I didn't
remind
even have to Google it.
Yeah, because we know that Gwaine has never seen battle.
Mm-hmm. Sweet summer
He's a
children.
sweet summer child, little rich boy, never had to fight for anything. And, this tourney night, and he just has this air of pompousness. And I think it's funny that later on, if you want to get right into what happens with them out on the
Yeah,
road,
yeah.
uh, he's crying when that dragon comes for them.
I love that moment because they're out and they're exposed. And he's like, I don't care what you guys make camp. I'm going to go sleep in an inn because I can afford it. And
Right.
I don't like to sleep on the ground. And then, like, it's just striking because you see them riding the whole time and the sky is blue and like just a couple clouds, a couple cumulus clouds up there. But then it gets a little dark. And Kristen is like, hold on a second. I saw the weather report. What the fuck is this? And he looks up and it's
We're
like,
exposed. Yeah,
they're
it goes again with about them playing at war. Gwen wasn't taking this
exposed.
seriously at all. He's ready to go have a
Mm-mm.
drink, and remember he's like, "Oh, well, we'll meet you at first light unless the wine is really good. Then maybe a little after that." Like he's not taking this shit seriously at all until
No,
there's a
no.
dragon on his ass.
Mm-hmm. I love that pursuit.
I loved it. I
I
loved
love
it.
Bela just being like, ooh, let me go in and make sure I see who the fuck that is.
And shout out to her restraint not burning down the whole
I
forest.
was just about to say that. Exactly.
I mean, Rhaenyra told
Because
her not to engage, so she didn't engage. Um,
but she took her scouting duties seriously.
mm-hmm,
And she didn't want to assume. She wanted to make sure she was going to bring back a correct report. Because if had that been anybody else, that forest would have been on fire.
mm-hmm. It certainly if it had been Damon.
Mm-hmm.
And she was searching for them. I wonder what she planned to do when she found them if she wasn't. I mean, I guess maybe she just didn't want to burn down a forest for it.
Yeah.
But also, she was close enough where her dragon could have lit them up before they made it to the forest.
Yeah, she could have hauled ass.
I mean, the flames would have reached.
Mm-hmm.
We've
Mm-hmm.
seen how far those flames reach. Um, what did you think of Cole asking Allison for her favor? You think he was trying to sweet her up after how he treated her in the small council?
A little bit, but for me, it felt a little bit more malicious.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it didn't seem like a sweet thing. It seemed like here your brother's here watching, and this is how I'm gonna tell your brother without telling him that I'm fucking the queen.
I kind
Like
of
I'm your boo.
I kind of took it as him being like, "You still mad at me?"
Yeah.
It's like when a Caribbean parent, traces you up because you did something and then they find out they were wrong and instead of apologizing, they give you some cut up fruit.
What's that like?
It's like, "Oh, I got you some mangoes." And it's like,
Yeah,
thanks, I guess. So I feel like that was him testing it like, "Are you mad
testing
at
the
me?"
waters. You
And
still
she's
mad?
just like, She gives them the
Yeah.
favorites, which means they'll probably smash again later because she's
I mean,
soft.
the return from the mission sex is supposed to be the best.
Well, hopefully he doesn't return. um, Maybe too soon for all of that, but since they're still allegedly not at war, uh
Mm-hmm.
Rhaenyra's council. So when after Bela chases and does all of that, she reminds them, and the council is still urging war.
Yeah.
Like they're like, please take your dragons and go strike them down. And she's really trying to resist bringing the dragons into it because once you unleash them, like that's it.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a dragon war. And in a way, I felt like they were starting to get a little bit disrespectful with the way they were talking
Oh
to
yeah.
her.
No, absolutely. I mean, that was the thing that small council meeting reminded me very much of Egon's small council meeting,
Mm-hmm.
and where Allison was like, "Yo, y'all are undisciplined. Will you please check yourselves and get yourselves under control? Like, how dare you? Like, how dare you?" And with them, it's the same thing. It's like, listen, I know that you think I'm a woman and I don't know anything, but I've been sitting in these meetings since I was a child.
Mm-hmm.
I know how this goes. You are here at my
At my
grace,
pleasure.
at my pleasure.
But they also, when they talk about getting her to safety, it shows that they've also been meeting without her and talking behind her back,
Mm-hmm.
which she of course checks them on.
Yeah.
But that
Yeah.
kind
And
of
but
that
that's
kind
this
of
is because of Damon.
but that kind of parallels with uh the other small council, how they plan to crown Aegon anyway without telling Allison.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we have these small councils that are going behind your back. Granted, it wasn't Allison's small council, but still, you
Yeah.
have these small councils that are going behind your back and talking about you. Damon trying to start the war without her while she's giving birth. Like she doesn't have
Um,
her council in control.
yeah, and it's like they are also coming off like they're I mean, I think what you have to understand is that we're coming off of like a long stretch of peace,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what makes these men sitting at the table trying to go to war any different from the boys who are out there doing the same thing,
Right. And the way they
you
just keep
know?
saying, just send the dragons, just send the dragons. And she's like, we need men too. Dragons
Yeah.
aren't infallible. They're
Yeah.
devastating. But
As we can see.
she also doesn't want to devastate the country.
Mm-hmm.
And Rhaenys reminds them whose crown she wears, the conciliators.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's supposed to show us what kind of queen Rhaenyra is trying to be.
Yeah.
At every
Yep.
step, she's trying to find a way to have peace. She did send out for Aemon to be killed, which was
Mm-hmm.
understandable. It was immediately after, her son was murdered. Um, but she never sent assassins for Aegon. She never meant for Jaehaerys to be killed, obviously.
Yeah, of course not.
Um,
Um, yeah, I mean she's been exercising restraint this entire time, and I have a lot of respect for her for that. And I also, I'm wondering, I'm like, well, you can't really dismiss the small council because like that's a quick way to get them to like turn cloaks on you. But also, um, I'm really mad at Damon for just setting up the precedent that you could talk to the queen any which way,
uh-huh.
like hello, you were oh, we didn't even talk about when he was at Harrenhal and homie was like my prince and he was like
Your
your
grace.
grace. Stood up and I was like, oh
Oh, I
no.
have assumed since you were a consort. I'm telling you, it's the same situation that Matt Smith was in The Crown, which I know you haven't watched it, but it was like the same thing where what's his name? Queen Elizabeth's husband?
Prince Philip.
Yeah, Prince Philip. How he's like, well, why am I not called king if my wife is the queen? And it's like Matt Smith is once again playing this prince who wants to be called king because his wife is the queen. And
Mm-hmm.
king consort in The Crown, the argument was that king is higher ranked than the queen. So we can't call you the
Yeah.
king consort because you'll be higher
Yeah.
ranked than her. So you can be a
Right.
prince.
You can be a queen consort.
Right. You can be a queen consort because you'll be ranked lower than the king. So that's fine. But you can't
Yeah.
have your partner be, you're the leader. So you can't be a king
Yeah.
consort. You have to be the prince consort. And even that was like for Prince Philip was like a title that was just given to him later so that he could outrank his
Yeah.
children. But in Damon's
Mm.
case, yeah, I think
He's a
he's
prince.
King Damon in his mind.
Has been always like ever since he was born. King Damon, your
Because
grace. That sneaky little snake
his wife
bastard.
is the queen, but we're in a society where your husband runs the house.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the husband, the Lord husband is the person who calls the shots. And here he is, the Lord husband, but the queen rules over him. And I think that's still like as much as he supports her and as much as he's for the most part following her orders, he's the person who crowned her. He keeps saying that, you know, he
Mm-hmm.
accepts her as his ruler, but I don't know if deep down he really does yet, because it's his, not just his wife, but like his niece.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, I think this is why we see him later with the young version of her,
Mm-hmm.
like that's how he was supposed to like come into his throne by marrying a younger woman who would listen to like okay, Targaryen, who would listen to him.
Right.
And he didn't realize that she's going to grow up to be so like headstrong and capable.
Mm-hmm.
But she is, and she's no dummy.
And in a way, again, I think it kind of mirrors Otto's expectations with Aegon,
Mm-hmm.
where here's going to be this king that listens to me because I'm his grandfather and I'm the hand, and he's just, you know, happy to wear the crown and play at king, but I'll be the one really ruling this
Mm-hmm.
realm. And I
I mean,
think,
Joffrey tried it too.
yeah, and I think that maybe Damon has a little bit of that, whether or not he realizes it, whether or not he admits it to himself. I think he still has a little bit of that in him, where he's the Lord husband, yet he's not the one in charge, and it kind of
I mean,
grinds
I'm
his
sure it's a
gears.
hard thing to shake,
Yeah, yeah.
you know?
It's generations of conditioning. Like you're not going to shake it off overnight.
Yeah,
And
over two
she didn't
weeks.
have to pull rank before she became queen. They got to just
No.
be husband and wife and live their life.
Mm-hmm.
He got to be her protector. He got to cut off
Now he's
Vaemon's
out in these
head in her
streets.
defense.
He did.
You know, he was her Lord
That's a moment
protector.
that I still love.
Beautiful. He can keep his tongue.
Uh,
I
love
enjoy
it.
seeing Rhaenys. Every scene I get with Rhaenys and Corlys, I enjoy because I
Me
love them
too.
together. They have so much
Mm-hmm.
chemistry.
They really do.
Like
I
I
believe
believe
it
them as a couple.
100%. Yeah, totally.
I'm like, what are y'all doing behind the scenes? You guys are getting on a
Uh,
little too well.
I know.
You guys secretly together.
You're holding hands
With,
when no one's
yeah,
looking.
you're having an onset romance because it's working a little too well. But
I'm here for
they
it.
discuss their heirs.
Mm-hmm.
And Rainey brings up a good point about having Rhaena become the heir, that Rhaenyra wouldn't be mad about it. In fact,
Nope.
it would be hypocritical if she was.
Absolutely.
So this is Corlys's chance to name Rhaena as heir and have a true Valarian as the heir
That's what I was just about to say.
instead of baby Joffrey, who we all know is a strong.
Very strong.
Although I guess he'd be Joffrey Rivers. He wouldn't get to inherit the
Mm,
family name.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be hypocritical of Rhaenyra to
And
keep
it's
that
like, so
down.
what if she's never seen, like, spent time on the ocean? Whose fault is that?
Well, the thing is too, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but this sets us up for another little succession. I don't want to say problem, but another
Conflict?
succession conflict. Yes, who's going to become Corlys's heir? So that'll be like its
Mm-hmm.
own little succession issue that we're going to
Yeah.
deal with. That we'll get to later, that but has been set up, and if you've read it then you've seen and put the pieces together already, and if not, I think even people who haven't read it are slowly putting the pieces together as well. I think it's been, the pieces have been put there in front of us. It's just a
Yeah.
matter of gathering them, lining them up, and
Lining them
seeing
up.
what picture it creates.
Speaking of what picture it creates, I've really enjoyed the addition of scenes to the tapestry.
So I missed that at first. I
Mm-hmm.
definitely missed that at first. And um I saw a post where they were like, "Oh my god, what the fuck?" And it was the part where Jaharis's throat is cut, and that's when I
Mm-hmm.
realized that it had been changed.
Yeah, when I watched it, I
I
was like,
love
oh,
it.
they're building the tapestry. I love
I
that.
love it.
It's just like the history is literally unfolding before you and it's being recorded here.
Hmm.
Uh, I can't wait to see the tapestry at the very end.
I know that actually just makes me want to go back and watch it again, all of it,
Hmm.
which is always what happens.
Always.
Well, I loved it.
Um,
Um, what are your feelings on Allison and Helena's discussion of grief and Helena telling her, "I forgive you"?
mhm. I mean, like Helena's like, she might be a little special, but I don't have a problem. Like, I like her moments of lucidity, you
Mm-hmm.
know, where she's like, yeah, I say things that are weird sometimes, even though they come true. And um, like I saw what you think I saw. I did, but like, you know, I forgive you. I forgive you. I
But
think
is
it
that what
it
you think she's forgiving? What do you think she's forgiving?
but the Smashville.
Yeah.
Wait, are you? Do I think she's forgiving Smashville, or do you think she's forgiving uh the Smashville leading to the death of her son?
Well, that's what I'm asking. What do you think
Yeah,
she's forgiving?
I think. That's a good question. I mean, part of me wants to say that I think she's forgiving Smashville because, like, she's a lonely old widow, and she got to get her rocks off too. Um, or maybe it's for having her parade her child through the streets. Or maybe, yeah, it could be any
Maybe
number of
it's for
things, I
being a
think.
shit mom. Although I will say Helena is the one she actually tried with.
Hmm.
Maybe because she
Yeah,
didn't want Helena to live the life she did
maybe,
as a
maybe she
lady
knows
of
what
the
it's like to be
realm
a
and a
woman in the
tool.
court.
Right.
Exactly, exactly. I thought it was very kind of Helena to do that, but I also like that. I feel like that it keeps Allison on her toes
Oh, yeah. She
because
has
I would
Allison
be
fucked
super
up.
wary. I'd be like, oh wait, what you do? You do for real? And then I wonder if in Allison's head she's like, man, Helena's actually more of a pious, godly woman than I am to be able to forgive me that. Um, I just, what? I was like, my only hope is that we see more of her.
Of Helena.
Yeah, I don't know that we really will, but I would love to see more of her.
I think that Helena's grief hasn't
She's so
fully,
haunted.
yeah, I think her grief hasn't fully settled in yet. She talks of the
Mm-mm.
small folk having more of a right to grief because they lose their babies more than noble women do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Mm-hmm.
in a way she's trying to cope by saying like it could be worse.
Could be worse. It
Some
could both be
or
good.
just saying like some people have it worse rather.
Yeah. And maybe because I'm sure that's like one of the very first times she's like had, well, one of the first times she's had such close contact with the small folk. And to not just see, like, to think that, oh, these people lose their children more often than us because they got no health insurance, but like to see just the way that they live, period.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's mud and lice and fleas. And she could, remember that in the scene where Arya and Sansa are like, I couldn't have lived what you went through,
Mm-hmm.
like it's like that. I think she's having this moment just like, okay, my kid's dead, but like I don't have to live like that, like every day and try to raise a child in that environment. Like, whether or not they're happy, like
She was
withstand
like, babies
notwithstanding,
die
but
every day, B. It's like, oh my
mm-hmm,
God. Um,
yeah.
I expect to revisit that. Do you think that Helena is gonna just randomly blurt out what she saw?
I would love that. It's I don't have a bingo card like AK, but if I had one, that would be on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what I thought the first time, and that's what I thought last episode too. I was like, you know what? I just want her just to be like, bleh!
Yeah, I mean, I think she
I saw
doesn't
mommy
care.
writing
I saw mommy
Christy
riding
Cole.
Santa Claus.
Mm-hmm. Just like,
um, I don't think she actually cares. So I could see her saying it very casually,
mm-hmm.
as if it's just not a
One of
big
her
deal.
moods.
Yeah, as if it's just not a big deal. Not because she doesn't know it's a big deal, but because she's just not like thinking about it.
Yeah.
Like I feel like she could do it in an offhand comment and being like, "Oh, whoops."
To whom does she say it? Is it like Egon or is it Amond? I feel like it would be Amond,
Mm,
who's already losing respect for Kristen Cole.
yeah, yeah, she should say it in front of Amond.
Because he loves her, you know? Not necessarily in the Targaryen sort of way, but as a sister, he loves her.
Yeah. We talked
Yeah,
about
they're
Aegon being fake brave. Did you like his armor, his Valyrian steel armor?
I
Of the
loved
armor of
it.
Aegon the Conqueror, who I
I
feel was
loved it.
probably taller and broader than this current Aegon,
Mm-hmm.
in my
Yeah.
mind anyway. Uh Despite everyone telling him like,
I liked
hey,
Damon's armor too.
I loved Damon's armor.
Like, it's like the belly had the dragon
And I
scale.
loved the armor on the horses that Cole and
Mm.
Wayne left on too. I love the armor. I want to go back to the Met to see that armor that we saw that time.
Oh yeah, that was so fun. Shout out to Fable and Lark.
Yeah, I definitely want to go back there and look at that again because I love seeing all the different armor. I was gonna say Aegon is all together in his Valyrian steel with his janky ass Kingsguard around him, and nothing anyone has said to him has convinced him to not go out on his dragon
Mm-mm.
until Laris gets in his ear again and makes him like really makes him believe like they're sending you out to die so your mother can rule
Mm-hmm.
with Aemond. And he's like, oh shit. And like, and it's like, bro, are you serious right now? Do you really think that's what they want? He's so
Yeah,
paranoid.
he is. I mean, to be fair, they snuck into his home and they killed his baby under his
They
nose.
did, but it wasn't
Like
his
that.
mother.
Yeah, but I think also like sitting on the small council and seeing Alicent kind of just being like, walked over, and then for Aemon to be like, you know what, bro, like you should really stay here. And for him to know, like, it's not just that Aemond is like better at everything. It's that he knows this. He's very well aware. And if I was paranoid about like, I've already, that the whatever. If I was paranoid already, then I'd be like, oh my God, they want me to go get killed because we all know that Aemond would be a better king than
And
me.
you know what? As you say that, it was only 2 weeks ago that he told Aemond as much, and Aemond agreed when he
Mm-hmm.
had to go collect him
Yeah.
uh after his father died.
No, he's like, I don't want it. I don't want it.
I don't want it. Okay,
He
Egon
doesn't want it.
Snow.
Uh, yeah. So I think he feels some kind of way about it. But I mean,
Laris is
shout
just
out to Laris for
Laris is
getting
just
under
so
his
good at it because he's so insecure. Like as Laris didn't even have to like try that hard. He just
skin. You
had to make
think
the
that
mere
like
suggestion, and then Egon does whatever it is that Laris wants.
it's like it reminds me a little bit of a king's wit, like do we like he's allowed to speak the truth because he's a cripple, like whatever, what does he
Yeah,
have on
people don't
us?
see him as a threat because they're like,
Yeah.
oh, like he's just a cripple. Like, what can he do? Meanwhile, he's like underneath everything. He is the
Shout out
rat
to
in the
Sanderson.
floorboards. Yeah, I know Sanderson reference Kingswit. I knew. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Laris is the rat in the floorboards,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just like again, it's like, what is his end game? Is it just power? Is it chaos as a ladder?
Mm-hmm.
Because he
I
wanted
don't
Otto.
know.
He wanted Otto out of there, obviously,
And he
and
wanted Otto because Otto's too smart. Like, say
right.
what you want about Otto, but Otto is a smart hand. He's got the experience, and even though he I don't know, he Otto sees things the way they are, even if no, it's like, and he's self-serving, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're like, okay, well, you just want to rule the realm because you say that you want peace, and we talked about this last time. Like, he just wants to just rule with the chill, but Laris. I mean, does he want to be hand with the king? Does he want to, be queen's consort? Like, I don't know.
Sidebar about Otto. We had compared him and Tywin before, and someone brought up a really good point, um, that it's can't really compare them because Tywin has read the histories and can learn and has learned from Otto's
Mm-hmm.
mistakes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so without Otto, we wouldn't have Tywin. And I think that's actually kind of a fair assertion.
You are the one. If not, you are
The
the prototype.
prototype. What do you think about
Yeah.
that? You agree?
I'm into it. I'm into it. I mean, I think that Tywin definitely would have could learn from the histories, but I think that Tywin would have been a capable hand without knowing about Otto. Um, he's just, yeah,
He's just that dude.
he's just that dude. He's not like he just takes life so seriously, and he's in a position where he's got kind of everything at his disposal, and he wants to influence a king and put his children on the throne. Like, who wouldn't?
Mm-hmm.
um and in that he's also like Otto, but I think that he would have been perfectly capable of doing it without
I
having
think he would
referred to
have been
him.
capable, but I do think that knowing where Otto went wrong and being
Mm-hmm.
able to avoid that has also helped him.
I wonder if those were the parts that he made Jamie read when he was forcing him to overcome his dyslexia.
Flea Bottom is lit as always. Flea Bottom looks like a way more fun place than the Red Keep.
Yeah,
It's like a
but
festival
also,
every night. You'll
mm-hmm.
get stabbed
Also,
and possibly raped, yes, and you might accidentally eat human meat if you go to the wrong tavern. But it's like a festival every night. Everyone's just out having fun.
oh, the appeal.
Like, yes, there are some downsides. However,
Yeah.
everyone's having a
However,
good time. We meet Ulf, who is
mm-hmm.
later known as Ulf the White because of his hair. Um, Ulf claims to be a Targaryen.
Mm-hmm.
I love how he walked in. Everybody knows Ulf. So we know he's just this guy who's always in the tavern, always talking shit.
He's a
He's a
regular.
regular, he's a townie. Like every, so like everyone's used to him talking shit. Everybody buys him drinks. He probably never ever comes with his own coin, but he has all the stories and people enjoy him. And they probably don't believe him either. I don't think people
Yeah,
necessarily
no.
believe him, but he claims
He's
to be a Targaryen, son of Balon, which I don't think was in the books when he claimed to be a dragon seed. I don't think he specifically claimed Balon as his father, but that would make him
mm,
brother to Viserys and Daemon and
mm-hmm.
uncle to, as he says, the one true queen. So we know where
Yep.
he stands on that.
Mm-hmm. And then
Says that shit a little too loud, little too loud. Everyone gets uncomfortable. It's like the music stops and they shut the piano,
yeah, exactly.
and Aegon shows
And
up.
exactly that moment, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that out loud. And then it's like, dum, dum, dum. Cut to Aegon being trashed with his homies.
An interesting thing, did you recognize the serving girl who got slapped on the butt?
No, I didn't. I only watched it the once though.
Oh, that was Diana, the serving girl that Aegon raped. She's now a serving girl in Flea Bottom, all because she was a victim
Yeah.
and Allison got rid of her. Now she's getting sexually harassed in a tavern.
I'm one. I don't even know if I could say the things that I'm thinking right now. Like, which is worse?
In the brothel, Aegon and the homies go to the brothel where we see
To wet a wick.
to wet his wick. And I guess he's lightened up on the whole you guys took a vow of chastity thing because now he's drunk and trying to have some fun with his homies and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, get
It ain't
this
fun if the
squire
homies
bedded.
can't get none.
Yes, a proverb. Um, they walk in on poor Aemond, who's just trying to get peacefully breastfed.
Yeah,
And they did him so dirty.
they really
And
did.
you would think that knowing he is your best sword, his dragon is the protector of the city, you would think he'd treat him better. But now that Laris has gotten in his head that Aemon might be trying to take his place, I think he was trying to put Aemon back in place by humiliating him.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. If I was Aemon, I would take those Kingsguard on a little mission to meet some dragons, you
Right?
know, maybe get them eaten up a bit.
I wasn't expecting him to get up and stroll out butt naked.
Shout out to Full
Also,
Frontal.
I did not expect to see Dick getting sucked in this episode. That absolutely caught me off guard.
I think I missed that. Was that before or after he stood up?
Before, when they're still
Oh,
looking for him, they pull back a curtain and this chick is going for it. Obviously a fake dick because it's,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
but
I
yeah,
wonder
I
if he get
wasn't
paid extra
expecting
for that.
I wasn't expecting to see that at all. And like, the show rarely shocks me.
Hmm.
This
I mean, I
universe
was
rarely
shocked. He
shocks
stood
me.
up and I was like, oh,
Yeah, I was like, oh, so
excuse
you're not even
me.
gonna put your socks on. You're just gonna, okay, just stroll through a brothel. I can't imagine what's on those floors.
Oh, I can't.
Or I should say, I don't want to imagine
I
what's on
don't
those
want to.
floors.
Yeah. I mean,
When I was
shout out
rewatching the
to
episode,
little Amond.
when I was rewatching the episode and my son came in, I was like, nope, I had to stop it. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'd go to jail if you watched this episode. Like they would
Yeah.
like CPS would come and take my children away. Can you imagine him going
It
back to
just
school?
apparate into your apartment.
Yes. Can you imagine him going back to school, especially now that he's learned the word penis?
Mm.
Can you imagine? I would go to prison if he saw this episode. I was like, holy shit, HBO, calm the fuck down.
They're like, aren't your kids in bed?
But yeah, I think he was trying to like humble Amond in a way.
Hmm.
Because of his
I
own
mean,
insecurity.
but also, I mean, the things that it makes you like, it made me feel bad for Eamon too. Like he's like so sentimental, right? This was the
Mm-hmm.
we find out that he lost his virginity to her, and
Mm-hmm.
like he's been sticking with her the whole time. Maybe not, but he probably
I
has.
think he has,
He's loyal. And he's just like,
and
and
he
the
does,
thing
and
is
he.
like,
I doubt Amon wants bastards.
no, no, probably not. He doesn't seem like a bastard making king or prince.
Prince.
Um,
Whoops.
and oops. And I just like, for me watching Egon walk in, I was like, how do you know this is not like the pillow talk after? Like maybe this is aftercare, like chill. Maybe he just busted a nut.
Do
But
you think he actually gets breastfed by her, or like fake
mm,
breastfeeds?
no, I don't see him as that. Like I know that
You
that
think he
kink,
just
and
cuddles?
I think he just cuddles. I think he
Because
just
because
cuddles.
again, I thought of Homelander.
Mm, yeah, there's a lot of Homelander-esque shit that happens. Uh yeah. No, I don't think he does. I don't think he does. Honestly, I don't think it's like a mommy fetish. I think it's just really like, here's someone you can trust. I'm sure you pay her really well to like keep your confidences, and just like, it's probably cool for her. She's just chilling. You don't have to like, you don't got to
I,
spread anything or open anything. You just hang out with the prince and listen to him complain.
yeah, I kind
Mm-hmm.
of I kind of still think it's like a mommy fetish because mommy wasn't there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like sometimes you have to get maternal love elsewhere. I don't think it necessarily means it's a mommy fetish, but I mean, I could see it. Emin doesn't
Well,
strike me as
yeah,
that
he.
being his kink.
I see. I would say yeah, he's getting maternal love, but like if it wasn't a mommy fetish, why do it naked?
Because you're in a brothel. Why not? Maybe that's like an extreme state of vulnerability, because he's always in fetal position. He's always
Because
curled
he
up
wants to
and
be held like a baby because he has a mommy fetish. The last thing, which is also the end of our episode, Rhaenyra, as she's sad and playing with her children's toys, which was
Hmm.
made me so sad because she's probably thinking she doesn't know if or when she'll ever see them again.
I mean, she says that too to
To Rhaena,
Raina.
And to have to send them away so young,
Will
you
they
know,
remember you?
you know. So she's playing with their toys and she finally decides to read the letter that Allison sent her, which we don't get to read. So we don't know what's in it. But
Mm-mm.
whatever is in it sparked her to want to make a plan with Massaria to go talk to Allison.
Wild and reckless, but okay.
I thought this was just the absolute stupidest thing she could have done. And when
Yeah.
Massaria's like, yeah, it would be easier to kill her, like I agreed. Like I felt that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought this plan was absolutely idiotic because you want to meet with her to find some terms so that you can have peace. What possible terms could you come to at this point?
Yeah, exactly. There's too much has happened. I
One
don't
of
know
you
what
has
you
to
could
step
offer.
down. That's the only way. And if you step
Mm-hmm.
down, they're still going to kill you because you'll always be a threat.
Exactly. You, your dragons, your kin, everybody.
So,
It's
like,
not, it's
what
just,
possible terms could they come to?
and I thought it was a little silly too that like knowing Allison as well as she did, like I feel like if I were Rhaenyra, I'd be like, oh, she goes and she prays every day. Like that's where I should find her. Get me into the sept.
But does she know that Allison still does that?
I feel like Allison is a creature of habit.
Hmm,
I would assume
that's
that that's a
fair.
thing she does because she's so devout. Um, yeah,
Do you think, so she had a knife and Allison says, what if I call for the guards? And Rhaenyra is like, I'd be able to kill you before they got here. Do you think Rhaenyra would have really killed her? Because I don't.
I don't think she would have really killed her, but she would have been within her rights since she did try to stab her
Yeah, she does owe her a cut. She should have at least sliced her up a little bit.
a little
Make
bit.
her. Now it's your turn for stitches.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I thought this plan was really dumb. As I watched her walk through King's Landing in her little septa outfit, while her guard sits outside with his knife, like good, that'll do you if there are two King's
Yeah,
Guard and you just have a dagger,
like
you know.
like all septons.
Yeah.
This is
Um,
not the faith militant, so can we just get this right?
yeah, I wonder how her council will react to this because all she really got out of it was making
Too
Alicent
late,
realize.
baby.
Well,
Now
it was
it's
making
too
Alicent
late.
realize that she made a mistake, but it means nothing at this point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Alicent obviously believed in her own bullshit. I still think that Alicent heard what she wanted to hear.
I do
I don't
too.
think she was trying to actively lie that Viserys was naming Aegon as his heir, but Viserys never actually said that.
Yeah.
He said Aegon is the prince that was promised, and she took that to mean, okay, he wants Aegon to be his heir. And I
Right.
think because that's what she wanted to hear. And in her conversation with Rhaenyra, where she's like, I may be whatever, whatever, but I'm not a liar, it shows that she really does believe this. I
Yeah.
just think it's bullshit that she wanted to believe. And at this point, you believe your bullshit long enough, it becomes true to you.
Yeah.
So when she realizes that she means the conqueror, I'm sure she felt really stupid. Like, I can't imagine how her stomach must have dropped.
Mm-hmm. And you
All
see
of this
that realization
started
on her face.
all of this started because you misunderstood. You misunderstood a single sentence and started a war. Granted, it was going to start anyway because the small council was planning to crown Aegon with or without
Yeah.
her and
Yeah.
with or
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
Viserys's blessing. So it would have happened anyway. But again, this all started because you misheard some shit and wanted to
Yeah.
believe what you wanted to believe.
And I love that we're revisiting the prophecy, because
Mhm.
we're like, oh, hey, Damon didn't fucking know. You don't know either. You guys are all wrong. All
Because
wrong.
Rhaenyra is the rightful queen, the one true queen.
The one true queen. Team Black.
I don't
Always.
understand how anyone can be Team Green at this point.
Yeah.
Like it's they've shown us that Aegon is a poor ruler. We see the rat catchers are still hanging. So like these
Mm-hmm.
so the people of the city are watching their loved
A
ones
feast for
rot
crows. It's a little bit of naive of Rhaenyra to think that things can be stopped, even though the prophecy, like she knows it. Nobody else knows the prophecy, but to think that you can put, the egg back in the chicken at this point is just incredibly naive. And it's too late. It's too late.
It's definitely too late. Like people have been killed.
And I understand not reading the letter from Allison in the very beginning. Like I get
Yeah,
that,
I get it. I
you
wouldn't want to hear
know,
from her either.
like
Like
she didn't even
here
leave
I
her on
was
red.
considering stepping down just to avoid a war, and your son
Mhm.
murders my son when he's on a messenger mission.
Diplomatic mission, yeah.
Yeah.
He's an emissary. You don't kill the messenger.
But I thought it was just so stupid of her to sneak into King's Landing because like you're the queen. Like what if you had gotten killed? And like you said, it's naive that she thought like what? You'll appeal to Allison as her former best friend and as both of you being mothers, and then what? That she'll talk Aegon out of the throne? You know what I mean? Like what did she expect was gonna come out of
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, and it's really great to see that because like this whole season especially we talk about seeing their lives paralleled, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We see what's happening. They're both getting disrespected by their small councils. They're both having to deal with children who want to go to war. They both have to deal with not being able to trust the people who are around them now, because they're women.
But at the same time, as much as we want to pit Rhaenyra and Alicent against each other, this isn't a war between Rhaenyra and Alicent. This is
Mm-hmm.
a war between Rhaenyra and Aegon.
Yeah.
So her appealing to Alicent is the Queen Dowager.
Yeah.
She's just the king's mom when it comes down to it.
Yep. 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 She
He
lost
doesn't
her
have to
status.
he doesn't have to do anything she says.
Nope. I
And
mean,
I
I would
don't
say
know.
I just said that she lost her status, but like even Viserys didn't have her like in there, you know?
She was at the meetings, but like I don't know, wasn't really calling the shots for anything
No,
until he
she
was
was not.
completely bedridden.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even then, it wasn't really her; it was Otto. So I think it was incredibly naive and really stupid of Rhaenyra to think that she'd go to King's Landing, appeal to Allison, and somehow they'd come to an agreement that makes everyone happy because there just isn't one.
No, it's too late.
It's way too late.
It's too late. Too many people have died. And it's like if
It's
even if
too
you don't take
late
the
to
sons,
apologize.
too late. Like even if it wasn't like, blood for blood, son for son, whatever, like the Brackens and the Blackwoods have been devastated. You think they're like,
Mhm.
oh, fuck this
Oh,
war.
they made
Okay.
up.
No, no.
And like, do you think either side is gonna let the other live?
Oh no,
You
no.
think
They
you
have to
think
kill
that
them.
if you think that if Rhaenyra decide if so let's say for some crazy reason Aegon was like, you know what, you're right, I'm gonna step down and you can be queen. You think Daemon wouldn't kill him?
Of course he would kill him. He'd have
He'd
to.
kill him.
Or
He'd kill
keep him in
him.
a tower so
He'd
until
kill
he like
Aemond.
gets so hungry that he eats his fingers.
Nice callback.
Hey, wink wink.
And vice versa. Aegon would have to kill Rhaenyra and her whole family in order to protect his
Hmm.
claim.
Absolutely.
Like there's just no going back at this point. So I think
No.
her putting her life at risk was just really stupid and rash, more stupid and rash than sending Eric in to kill her.
Hmm.
Because at least by sending Eric, Aegon
I
wasn't
mean,
in danger.
like think about this as like imagine she had been caught and killed, right? They send
Mhm.
back her head on a spike or in a box or whatever, like whatever. That means that Jace is now the heir to the throne, and you think he's gonna fucking show restraint? Like Damon comes back and he was like, "All right,
That's when Daemon will really be
let's
in charge.
go." Are you kidding? Like, nah. If you think it's bloody now, like just wait until like your son has to be at the reins with a council, that has seen you not really, take him seriously either, because he's but a boy. um yeah, no, it just gets worse. I mean, we know the Dance of the Dragons is terrible, but
Mhm.
like
It has barely
her
begun.
dying, it's
We've
just
barely
it's
scratched the
worse.
surface. And yeah, that this would just be what could have happened was basic like what you said. Like they cut her head off and send it back. And claim the war is over because the queen is dead. But it's like with the Blackfires, like, nope, the air is going to now pick up
Yeah,
and continue
exactly.
this war, and it's just going to continue until
And we see
everybody's
that.
dead.
And I think we see that even with the Brackens and the Blackwoods, right? Like they've been
Hmm.
fighting forever. It's
Hmm.
never going to be
Generations.
over. Like it's never going to be over.
So I think that in the next episode, Rhaenyra is going to have to make some hard choices and be ready to fight,
Yeah, she
because
has to
there's
realize that
no,
she's at war now.
yeah, like, yeah, she has to accept that she's at war now, like, and there's no going back at this point. Everything has simply gone too far.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts about the episode?
Not to be gruesome, but I appreciate that we've gotten death in every single one of these episodes. Like we had murder, and then we had murder, and then we had war murder, you know? It feels like they're not pulling any punches.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, shout out to Full Frontal. I'm
I mean,
always here
this
for
one
it.
this one was definitely slower than the last two.
Hmm.
And with the opening battle, we never see the battle, but actually thought that was well done,
I thought so too.
because
I didn't need to see them fight.
I didn't need to see them fight, and I feel like it just got straight to showing us cause and effect.
Hmm.
We have these two people who are in whatever struggle they're
Children,
in, children in a struggle that they're in, and now there's just the ground littered with bodies.
you know what it reminds me of?
What does it remind you of from
Remember
Stormlight
what?
Archives?
Yes. When Kaladin was like, just, he was just a surgeon's son. And these other kids were like, training with the spear, and being out in the field. And they're like, oh, and then he gets into a fight and he's just like, oh, wait, I love how this feels in my hand, which is a different topic entirely. But it's just like you're seeing these boys playing at war. And
And
then,
then shit gets
Kaladin
real.
really goes to war and he's just like devastated,
Hmm.
devastated. I
Like,
won't
this shit's
spoil it.
not a game.
Yeah.
It's not a game. But
You think
yeah.
this is a game? You think this is a fucking game? Or that's my lady like DMX Park. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm ready for war. I do love that they slow down the pacing for this episode,
Hmm.
because there are only five left.
Yeah, we're not getting 10 this season.
There are only five left. And just, there's not many shows that I watch that are nearly like 30 minutes short of feature film length, that I want to keep coming back to. And this is one of them.
Hmm.
Although I also last night thought, God, I can't wait for Wheel of Time to come back.
I'm looking forward to that too.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna be looking forward to both Damon and Kristen Cole being in the Riverlands at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll see how that plays out. And I've seen people saying that there's a battle next episode. I don't know if that's true or not. I also didn't watch any previews, so I don't know. But I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised that things ramp up now that Rhaenyra knows that there's no turning
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, they have to. And there are places that we haven't seen yet. We haven't seen the Veil.
I really want to
We,
see the Veil.
we haven't seen the
We
Veil, and
haven't
we
seen
haven't
the
seen
Starks
Old
arrive.
Town.
We haven't seen the Starks arrive. We
Nope.
haven't seen Daron, who's just mentioned last episode.
Mm-hmm. So I believe he's got to come. I feel like next episode we need to see the Veil and we need to see
And we will
Old Town.
most certainly see Ulf the White and Hugh the Hammer again, and
Mm-hmm.
Adam and Alan of Hull.
Yes,
There's a lot of material left to
there
cover.
is. There is. And, we talked a little bit about Rainey's and Corliss's exchange, but like for him to kind of, I think he's excited about going to war again, like the opposite of Alan, right? Alan's like, been
Like,
there, done
war
that, don't want to
sucks.
see it. And Corliss is like, I got the thrill, let's go. He's very much like Damon, like that.
Yeah.
Um, and I felt like at the end of their conversation, he was a little bit dismissive of Rhaenys,
Yes. Yes, I
but
agree.
you know, I don't know. Like, I mean, I guess I don't know at this time if women are considered bad luck on ships, um, of that
Yeah, I don't
nature,
know.
but yeah, because that's a thing that is traveled with sailors throughout the generations. Um, but I mean, I don't see him taking his airs on those boats either. Just you could be a dragon rider who still knows how to like, hold a rudder. I guess my question, actually, you know what? I do like seeing the dagger. the famed Dagger, um, keeping the shows tied together. But I wonder if besides keeping the shows tied together, if it's going to take on any other purpose while we're watching.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I want to see Amond. I want to see Amond go and do something.
Yeah, I'm ready to see. I'm ready to see Eamon fight, and maybe we'll get that next episode. We'll see.
It would be good. I would love to see him fight Kristen Cole.
I would love that.
Mm-hmm.
I would love for him to just kill Kristen Cole and be like, "Whoops." I don't think we're gonna get that since they're on the same side, but who knows what the show
Also,
will
that's
do.
not the story.
Yeah. But who
Oh
knows?
well.
Who knows what the changes will be? We don't know
Mm-mm.
everything.
We don't.
We
We
just know
don't.
broad strokes at this point.
Honestly, if I was Amond, I would spirit what's his mommy's name?
Oh,
Sylvie.
Sylvie.
I would spirit Sylvie away so she could be safe in these coming times. And also to protect her from fucking Egon. Now
Yeah.
that he knows that,
He still goes to
she's
see her.
mine. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, as always, it's been a pleasure discussing this episode with you.
Woohoo. Always.
I've been Tanya.
I'm always Nikki.
Ta ta
See you
for
next
now.
time.